My parents pressured me to slim down for my sister's wedding. But after my transformation, they couldn't handle how successful I became. Can you imagine being told you're too heavy for your own sister's wedding, only for your family to turn on you even harder after you transform? They forced me to lose weight, but what happened next? They couldn't handle my success, and that's when things got truly ugly. Growing up, I was always the big kid. From kindergarten, my size made me stand out, a constant, undeniable part of my identity. By high school, it was indisputable I was overweight. College wasn't much different. While others explored who they were, I was stuck, fighting the same battle with my body. It was a tough existence, filled with endless ridicule. Classmates teased me mercilessly, their insults eating away at me, creating deep self-doubt. I was the punchline, always singled out, always on the outside looking in, watching others live their lives from a distance I couldn't reach. This constant bullying shaped me. I felt so out of place that I sought refuge in books. Literature became my sanctuary, a world where stories helped me escape. Books didn't judge, they didn't ridicule. I became the nerd, and honestly I hated it. My younger sister, Bonnie, was a year younger and my complete opposite. She had this effortless charisma that drew everyone to her. While I was shy and reserved, Bonnie thrived in social situations. She'd walk into a room, and instantly everyone would be smiling, laughing, utterly fascinated. She didn't just make friends. She seemed to possess an intrinsic ability to make people gravitate towards her. Despite our differences, I adored her. I took my role as her older sister seriously, feeling fiercely protective. When she started high school with me, I was overjoyed. Initially, being Bonnie's older sister filled me with pride. But as she got older, things shifted. Bonnie began to see how different we were, and how differently we were treated. I was the quiet, bookish type. She was vivacious and popular, quickly cementing her place in the cool crowd. I watched as she became aware of my uncool eccentricities and insecurities. Slowly, painfully, she started to distance herself. She found new friends, and then she started to actively ignore me at school. That hurt. It genuinely pained me that my own sister saw me as inferior. Still, I tried to accept it, giving her the space she seemed to need, even though it felt like I was losing not just a sister, but a friend. But then, Bonnie stopped just ignoring me. She started associating with kids who made me feel like an outcast, using any opportunity to humiliate me. In the hallways, at lunch, they'd taunt me, or worse, try to trip me with my lunch tray just for a laugh. It wasn't just my peers anymore, it was her. It felt like I was losing her to the same abusive behavior I'd endured for so long. I was always on guard, trying to avoid not only other kids' criticism, but the humiliation inflicted by my own sister. It was a deep wound, coming from someone I had always admired. Even at home, when Bonnie had friends over, they'd gang up on me. They'd burst into my room without knocking, laughing and gesturing at my body, flinging insults like geek and fatty. I felt like a zoo animal, their source of entertainment, small and alone in my own space. I tried to talk to my parents, hoping they'd understand how tough it was, but every time they dismissed my worries. They'd smile, defending Bonnie, claiming it was how siblings bond, that she was just playing harmless. They even suggested I loosen up and stop taking everything so seriously, saying I should be more patient and resilient as the older sister. So, not only did I face years of bullying from peers and my own sister, but my concerns were repeatedly rejected by my parents. It left me feeling isolated, like no one in my own family truly understood how deeply it hurt. The only time my parents truly noticed me was for my grades. Academics came easily, and I collected high marks. It was the one area where I felt superior, the one way I could make them proud, the one part of my life they seemed to actually care about. My parents loved to brag about my accomplishments, portraying me as the family scholar, as if my grades were proof of their parenting prowess. Bonnie, however, detested these comparisons. She wasn't an academic overachiever, nor did she want to be. but our parents' constant reminders of my achievements, putting my grades up as an example for her to follow, made her resentful. I could always tell she was frustrated, angry, which probably explains what she did next. Bonnie would occasionally try to sabotage my hard work. She'd sneak into my room, usually the night before a major assignment was due, and steal my homework. I'd wake up to find my perfectly completed work gone. Panic would set in. I'd feverishly search, becoming more anxious with each passing minute. And there she'd be, smirking from the doorway, relishing every moment of my anxiety. To her, it was a minor victory, a way to bring me down a peg, to remind me I wasn't invincible. She knew how important my grades were, how much of my self-worth was invested in them, and she enjoyed disturbing that. I only found out about her stealing my assignments years later, when she drunkenly admitted it one evening. My relationship with Bonnie has softened over time, but we're still far from close. Some of the animosity has faded, but that strong bond siblings often share never fully formed between us. After graduation, I moved out, started a new life in a new city with an interesting job and new opportunities. I didn't see my family as much. Our communication became limited to occasional calls or texts. So, last year when I scheduled a summer visit home, I was genuinely excited. It had been a long time since we'd all been together, and I was eager to catch up. But it didn't go as planned. Our family lunch started well. Everyone seemed happy to see me. For a moment, it felt like old times. Then, Bonnie dropped a bombshell, her engagement. None of us saw it coming. We thought she was joking. But no, she was serious, proudly displaying a gorgeous ring. I couldn't help but remark how exquisite it was. I was genuinely happy for her, delighted she'd found someone she loved. Almost as soon as the congratulations subsided, Bonnie turned to me. "So, what have you been up to?" I told her about my career, my life, how rewarding things had been. Before I could finish, she cut me off. "I can't help but say this," she started, smirking, "but why are you still fat? If your life is truly amazing, shouldn't you have shed weight by now?" Her words hit me like a slap, reawakening old insecurities I thought I'd overcome. The room went silent. I could feel everyone's gaze, waiting for my response. I just shrugged, trying to laugh awkwardly. But then my parents immediately joined in. They started talking about how I was still obese and unmarried, how they worried I'd never have children. I was mortified. My accomplishments, the work I was proud of, the life I'd built in another city, none of it seemed to matter. They only cared about my weight and my relationship status. As my parents and sister continued, their comments wounded deeper than I imagined. I'd spent years finding myself, gaining confidence and freedom. But in those moments, I felt like the same nervous, awkward teenager, desperate for my family's acceptance. My parents then praised Bonnie for getting engaged before me, expressing their pride in her. To them, I was the inferior child, successful but not quite enough. What should have been a happy family reunion had swiftly become a heartbreaking reminder of old scars. I felt more like an outsider than ever. Bonnie didn't stop. "So, when are you getting married?" "I mean, do you even have a boyfriend?" she asked, clearly mocking me in front of everyone. My parents quickly agreed, saying it was past time for me to find someone before it was too late. They pointed out how Bonnie, being younger, was settling down while I, the older one, was wasting my life away at work. I tried to argue that I liked my life, that my work and freedom brought me fulfillment, that my career paid well. Why did I need a spouse or a child to be happy? I'm content just the way I am. I insisted, but my words didn't register. My mother, especially, seemed contemptuous. She gave me a sharp look. "What's the point of earning all that money if you don't have anyone to come home to?" It was as if she couldn't fathom happiness existing outside of marriage or family. Sitting there, I felt that familiar misunderstanding, that my life choices were disregarded. This was my family. They were supposed to know me best. Yet, they seemed preoccupied with a different definition of happiness than mine. I'd come home seeking connection, but instead I got judgment and taunts. Bonnie then smirked. I expect you to at least have a +1 by the time my wedding rolls around. She chuckled. I don't want people thinking my sister is some old, miserable woman all alone while I'm getting married. The comment stung. I simply shook my head and muttered, I'll try. That's when my parents spoke up again, matter-of-factly. Bonnie's wedding is almost a year away. Even if you can't find a partner, you could at least try to lose weight and look more presentable for her wedding. They suggested if I lost weight, it would be simpler for me to attract a partner. Bonnie enthusiastically agreed. Yeah, I want you to lose a few pounds at least, she remarked nonchalantly, as if she was doing me a favor. I sat there, astonished and humiliated, with an ache I hadn't felt in years. How could my own family talk to me like this? Did I truly deserve their hateful words just because I was overweight? Was I not meant to have feelings because I was fat? I was a normal person, just like them. I functioned like everyone else. I'd never considered my weight an impediment, so why did they? I'd even dated men who liked me just the way I was. But my parents and Bonnie made it sound like my weight was preventing me from finding love, which wasn't even true. I wanted to defend myself, to tell them how awful their statements were, but I felt frozen, unable to find the right words. Their comments dragged me back to high school, to the agonizing times when my weight made me a target. I despised how nonchalantly my family brought up my deepest concerns without considering how they made me feel. So I sat there, holding in my pain, and let the topic change. When I returned home from that trip, I threw myself into weight loss with a zeal I hadn't realized I possessed. It began as a way to prove something to my family, but it gradually became very personal. I joined a gym, followed a rigorous diet, and even hired a personal trainer. My trainer was a lifesaver, having gone through her own transformation. She knew exactly how to help me, creating a tailored path and encouraging me every step of the way, reminding me to give myself grace when I stumbled. This time, everything clicked. I started losing weight steadily, and as the pounds came off, I felt lighter, not just physically, but mentally. For the first time, I began to feel and appear different. My confidence soared. I used to assume that losing weight wouldn't have much influence, but it has. People see me differently now. Strangers are nicer, more attentive. Friends and colleagues treat me with fresh respect. I can't deny that this feels like a validation I've never gotten before. It's as if I've suddenly become more noticeable. My new body brought a new sense of style. I overhauled my entire wardrobe, filling it with items I had only fantasized about wearing. I even went for a full hair makeover, trying a daring, trendy blonde style that I would have been too afraid to try in the past. Maybe it seems superficial, but I've never felt so good. I look in the mirror now and don't quite recognize the person staring back. It's like meeting a version of myself I never knew existed. I'm proud of how far I've come, not just because I lost weight, but because I gained confidence and self-assurance. With Bonnie's wedding just 2 weeks away, my family invited me to fly down for lunch to finalize plans for her special day, but I just didn't feel like returning home. I didn't want them to ridicule me again or make me feel tiny, especially now that I was finally feeling good about myself. For the first time in a long time, I didn't want to go to Bonnie's wedding because of how she and my parents had treated me. But I knew if I didn't go, they'd be furious, giving me a long lecture about how family is family and how no matter how heartbroken I was, I must be there for Bonnie's big day. Update 1. Wow, I'm overwhelmed by everyone's response. Some of your suggestions are truly hilarious. I can't believe you're encouraging me to show up and mess with my sister now that I've lost so much weight. Growing up as a fat kid had such a negative impact on my self-esteem, especially how I perceived myself. I struggled with self-doubt for a long time, always believing I wasn't good enough. But reading all your responses has been a game changer. It's as if you've helped me see myself in a completely new light, and I'm finally starting to feel more confident than ever. In fact, I'm seriously considering turning up to my family's lunch and shocking them. They haven't seen me in a long time, And since I don't use social media, they have no idea how much weight I've dropped. It will be interesting to witness their reactions. Update 2. Okay, you're not prepared for this update. Grab some popcorn because things are about to get exciting. I decided to fly down for lunch, just as I said I would. I truly believed that when they saw me, they would be proud of the transformation I had undergone. After all, they were the ones who pushed me into it. Surely, they'd be overjoyed to see the positive improvements and finally recognize the effort I'd put in. When I walked into my parents' house, their jaws dropped. They looked at me, stunned, as if they couldn't believe I was the same person. After a moment, they stammered, wondering if it was actually me. I gave them a big hug, thrilled with their reaction. They continuously complimented my appearance, saying how beautiful I looked, how they couldn't believe it. However, when Bonnie arrived, the atmosphere shifted. She didn't notice me at first, completely disregarding me, just as she had done so many times before. But when I rose to greet her, she did a double take, her eyes widening with surprise. She gave an odd, almost forced laugh before reaching over and poking her fingers on my stomach, wide-eyed, as if she needed proof that I had truly dropped all that weight. My parents laughed at her reaction, explaining that they, too, couldn't believe it at first. As we settled in for lunch, the subject turned to my makeover. Bonnie and my parents bombarded me with questions about how I had done it, marveling at how different I appeared. Their voices were full of surprise, as if they had never imagined I could look any other way. Bonnie, in particular, kept saying that she had never anticipated me to alter so dramatically. Then she dropped this gem. When I first asked you to lose weight, I never expected you to look this pretty. I didn't even know you had that jawline and those ankles beneath all that fat. I hesitated, attempting to maintain my cool, and smiled at her before reminding her. Bonnie, I've always been pretty. Losing weight just enhanced my features. Bonnie, on the other hand, contended that there was something more about me that was distinct. Then she had the absolute hubris to ask, "Did you have some surgeries done on yourself? Because there's no way you look this good by yourself." I could feel my blood starting to boil. The arrogance, to believe that I required surgery to look attractive when I had worked so incredibly hard for my current appearance. I looked her directly in the eyes and replied, "Wow, Bonnie, it's amazing that you think that little of me. No surgery, just a lot of hard work and self-love. Something you might want to try sometime." Bonnie's expression changed from surprise to pure displeasure, but I didn't care. It felt amazing to finally say something and put her in her place. Before she could react, my parents jumped in, attempting to smooth things over in their own way. "You shouldn't be offended," my mother replied. "The three of us have just never seen you look this way before. Honestly, you look even more beautiful now than Bonnie does, and she's the one getting married." Bonnie appeared much angrier following Mom's remark. I simply ignored her and concentrated on my food, allowing my sister to seethe in her rage. Then my mother joined in again. "You know, I was thinking, maybe you should go back to your original hair color. I think you'd look even better with your natural shade. This blonde look makes you stand out too much. Maybe you should just go back to your old look." Bonnie and my father quickly agreed. My dad concurred with my mom and said, "Bonnie has always been the blonde daughter of the family, and you were the brunette, so it would be a good idea for you to go back to your original hair color. It might make you look more like yourself." Hearing their statements, I was taken aback. I suddenly felt like the three of them were ganging up on me again, attempting to bring me down. My hair stylist had suggested that I change my hair color to blonde because it better matched my skin tone and complexion. It had nothing to do with attempting to outperform or overshadow my sister. I could see why Bonnie was jealous of me now, but I couldn't figure out why my folks were so unhappy. It was as if they wanted to transform me back into who I was, despite the fact that they had wanted me to be more acceptable for their darling daughter's upcoming wedding in the first place. But now that I did, they couldn't accept who I had become. Instead of recognizing my progress, they sought to undermine me. I finally questioned my parents, What's your problem? Why can't I be blonde too? Does my sister own that color or something? I pause, annoyed. No, she doesn't. I can be blonde or brunette. It's my choice. Why does it even matter to you so much? I couldn't understand why they were so obsessed with my returning to my former self, as if my appearance had to match who I was before. My mother scoffed at me and claimed that I was purposefully attempting to undermine Bonnie's wedding by making an effort to stand out with my appearance. Bonnie joined in, stating, "With your weight loss, you're already going to stand out. So do you really need to take my hair color too?" My father, as usual, agreed with her, telling me that I was being difficult for no reason, and that as Bonnie's sister, I should be more tolerant. I couldn't believe what I heard. It was not about stealing anything. It was about having the ability to do whatever made me happy. But instead of supporting it, they were all concerned about how it would make Bonnie uncomfortable. "You know what? I'm done with this," I murmured, the words almost burning as they left my lips. "The three of you are so caught up in your own negativity that you can't even accept that I've changed. The truth is, I've always been amazing, just the way I am, but none of you ever saw it. Now, even after I've lost weight, it's still not good enough for you. No matter what I do, it's never enough." I took a moment to process what I had just said. They only gazed at me, but it didn't matter. I was done holding back. "Since you all have so much to say about me, I think it's time I gave you some unsolicited advice, just like you love to give me." I turned to my mother first, feeling the words surge inside me like a deluge. "Mom, I really hate how loose the skin is around your eyes and your lips. They droop on one side when you laugh, and I can't help but notice all your crooked teeth. Honestly, it's just disgusting to me." I gave her a second to react before turning to my father. "Dad," I said with a stern voice, "you're bald. You really have no right to say anything about anyone's hair or their hair color. How are you going to criticize someone's looks when you can't even keep a full head of hair?" I noticed his face stiffening, but I wasn't finished yet. Finally, I rounded on Bonnie. "And you? Don't ever talk down to me again. Between the two of us, I've always been the better-looking sibling. But now, with all the weight I've lost, you look even fatter than me. Just look at those chubby arms of yours." Bonnie's face flushed with shame, and she appeared to be about to burst into tears. I then hoisted my glass, downed my drink in one go, and walked out with a smirk, leaving everyone stunned and astonished. I had spoken everything I needed to say. I couldn't believe those words had come out of my mouth, but I didn't regret them one bit. They deserved to be humiliated after years of being criticized. After lunch, I flew directly back home. I did not want to stay behind and attend Bonnie's wedding. Since then, my phone has been overloaded with voicemails and texts from my parents and Bonnie. They've been calling me disrespectful and foul-mouthed for how I spoke to them and for simply leaving. Mom even insists that I fly back down to attend Bonnie's wedding because it won't look good to her in-laws if I don't. Update 3. So, I ended up skipping Bonnie's wedding, thanks to all of your suggestions. Instead of returning home to attend, I decided to treat myself to an impromptu staycation at a 5-star resort. Honestly, it was one of the best moves I'd made in a long time. I spent the weekend doing whatever made me happy. No drama, no pressure, just pure enjoyment. I treated myself to a spa day, binge-watched my favorite shows, and even visited some new places in the city I'd been longing to see. I've also blocked my relatives, so they can't contact me again. I'm weary of being bullied by them and want to avoid all the poison and drama right now. My primary focus is on self-care. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had family that just couldn't celebrate your wins? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.